So in today's War Thunder video, I want to go over the vehicles which are coming in the next major update, which is Alpha Strike. So if you want to know what the update is named after, it's named after this little like jet. It's basically just DOA. Like there's no reason to actually play this thing, especially considering it's 9.0 and it has no flares and it only has 127mm to actually do anything in aircraft. But I digress with that. We're here to talk about premiums. And today we're going to be going over the premiums which are coming. You know, there's quite a few of them. There is, I believe, 6, if I remember correctly now, which are like pre-order packs, and one of them which is a GE premium, which is the T80UD. So definitely we do have we have a handful of tanks and also one aircraft that we have to go over. But for me at least, I want to talk about the generalities of these premiums, because I feel like for these premiums at least, you're kind of marketed towards people who, you know, are at the lower ranks of War Thunder, maybe like rank 2 or 3, which just want to go straight to top tier and, you know, kind of enjoy their day with that. You know, we've been seeing premiums like that, like the clickbait. We've also seen it with, you know, Britain as well, with the Challenger 2 OES. And it just seems like they keep on going into these areas of where, you know, the premiums themselves are very high tiers. And, you know, there's a lot of problems that kind of come with them, mainly just being around the fact that, you know, people buy these premiums which are not, you know, knowing the basics even of War Thunder, and they're kind of just thrown into, you know, like guided munitions and smokes and APFSDS and different kind of rounds, and it kind of like overwhelms the player in a way. And then also you have the fact that, you know, it's only one vehicle, so you won't have lineups. So for me at least, that's what these premiums are marketed towards. I don't really see a use in them if you're already towards the top tier of, you know, the nation that you play, because really there's not a use for them. They're not really unique. They're not really anything special. They're more or less just grinding tools at this point, and, you know, they're copy paste from the tech tree for majority of them. So the only unique one which is coming in this major update is the F20A. The F20A is pretty interesting. It's the good old Tigershark, because you basically take an F16 engine and you slap it straight onto an F5. So it keeps pretty much everything that the F5 have, the guns, you know, it keeps the airframe as well. But the cool thing about it is it's able to take a ton more missiles, and as well as I believe it can take a little bit more whenever it comes to actual cast loadouts. But the missiles is probably the big thing. You know, you're able to bring some Sparrows and as well as AIM-9Ls. The only thing about this aircraft is that I believe the airframe is the thing that's limiting towards it. So as we know, this thing is 12.0 right now on the dev server. That is very much subject to change, and also the flight model is very much subject to change. But the thing about the F20 is that it feels very, very, like I would say, like, you know, unresponsive whenever it comes to the air. You know, definitely has some issues with its elevator and also rudder. But the one good thing that it does have, and, you know, even when you're seeing in this gameplay now, is that you're kind of able to use your thrust to weight to kind of go away from enemies like the MiG-29. But the F-16, which is around the same battle rating as this thing, the F-16A, just basically can run circles around you. So definitely is a little bit of a struggle playing. Now, would I recommend you actually buying this thing? To be quite honest with you, if you're looking for something that's a grinder, I would say no. I would say the F5C, which is a 10.3, is still the best, you know, premium within the game for America, at least for grinding up the tech tree. But the question kind of remains, why is this thing rank 8? It's the only rank 8 aircraft within the tech tree, and as we kind of know, coming up in the second update of War Thunder of this year, they're going to be AMRAAMs. So I'm assuming rank 9 will probably come to War Thunder at some point, and, you know, your F5C no longer will be able to grind out, you know, the rank 9 aircraft which are added to the game. So the F20 will basically future-proof you, but the only real big question of it is it going to like future-proof you enough where, you know, the vehicle itself is still going to be good? And that is very much a subject to see type of thing. But yeah, overall, if I'm going to have to give something, like if I wanted to buy this thing, I would definitely say it's a wait for a sell moment. Like, I believe it's probably going to be what I say for a lot of these. But wait for a sell. You know, it's not a meta defining vehicle. I don't think it ever is going to be. But, you know, it is very cool. It's part of aviation history for America, and it's very unique. And I know some people that just want to get it just because it is the Tigershark. So yeah, definitely wait for a sell. But if you can't, you know, help yourself, I mean, it should be all right, but it's not going to be anything meta defining. So the next premium we have here is the T80UD. This is a very interesting one, because whenever you think of a T80, you kind of think of, well, this thing's going to have really good firepower, it's going to have a decent reload, and the mobility of it is going to be very good. But the thing about this T80 is that it has an engine which is a diesel instead of a turbine. So whenever you're putting around a place, you're going to be a little bit slower. And then also the big like nerf to this thing is the reverse speed. So you're going to have 2.6 miles per hour in reverse in only one gear. But your armor should be pretty good. It should be the same armor as the T80U. And I mean, it should be a pretty good premium. The only question that kind of remains of it is would I rather have a T72 AV Terms, which has thermals, or would I have the T80UD, which has a little bit better armor, 3BM42, and as well as a decent reload? So I don't really know. Honestly, it kind of like defeats the purpose of having a T80. Like for example, if you go up just like a 0.3 battle rating, you go to the T80, B, and to me at least, I would prefer the T80B just because of the mobility. The mobility nerf to this thing definitely will be massive, but you still can kind of rely on your armor in a little bit of a way to actually, kind of bounce shots and everything. But yeah, it's just a T80. I mean, it's like a T80 and you strip away the engine. It's the best way to describe the T80UD. It is not going to be a pre-order premium, funny enough, so it will be a premium that you're able to just buy with G. So if you want to save up some G, I believe it was like 9,000 something G, so definitely, save up if you want to get that. But for me at least, since it is a G premium, it is definitely one of those vehicles that I would personally pick up during the anniversary sale. I kind of don't see a reason to pick this thing up if you already have like the T72 AV Terms, but it should slot very well into the 10.0 lineup, which the 292's in, the Terms, 2S38, the new one, and then also the BMP2M. So you have a whole lineup over here just at the premium event section of War Thunder, which is always just pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely would wait for a sell, and it should be an alright vehicle. So the next vehicle we have here is the Type 90B Fuji. So this vehicle is very cool because it's just a Type 90, and the Type 90 is just a really good. The reason behind the Type 90s being good is because it's a glass cannon. Like, it really doesn't have much armor whenever it comes to actually looking at this vehicle. Most rounds can easily just go through this thing from the front, but the thing that this thing has is a reload speed of 4.0 seconds. So even though you have a really crap crew, or you have a crew that's not great, your reload, no matter what, will be 4 seconds. So for a premium, especially for people who are going to have very low crews, this is just a really good vehicle. I mean, like, the only downside to it, I would say, is JM33. It's a very, I would say, iffy round. But once again, once you know where to aim with the Type 90B, JM33 will basically just do whatever you want it to do for you. Like, it's not a terrible round, but it's definitely not one that I would say is just a meta round. The only thing that you have to worry about with the Type 90B is kind of overextending and getting it into places that you can't get out of. Like, it's one of those tanks that's really good at kind of like supporting your teammates, like watching your teammates get shot and you come around the corner and kind of just wipe everything up. But once you get shot at, it's kind of just game over with this thing. And that's kind of like a little bit of a bad thing. But yeah, the Type 90B, it's a really good one. If you want something for Japan, I would say it's probably one of your best options now, because the Type 74G I don't believe is on sale anymore. And then the Type 16 FPS is, while it's good, I wouldn't really say it's the best thing in the world anymore with just, M735. So definitely is a vehicle I would, kind of recommend if you're looking for a premium to grind the tech tree. The only thing you also gotta kind of remember is that Japan really doesn't have much room for expansion anymore. So, this Type 10 and as well as the TKX is basically the only thing that you're ever going to get at top tier anymore. Like, there may be some more, prototypes that they can add for like the SDBs and stuff, or the Type 74s, but this premium will pretty much, survive whatever they add to War Thunder now, because there's not much to add left for Japan, unless they do something like a South Korean subtree. But, that is kind of here and there, and, it is a pretty good vehicle. So if you want this type of vehicle, I would recommend it. I would still wait for a sale because it is pretty expensive for what it is. But if you need something to grind out Japan, this thing definitely will not let you down. So the next vehicle we have here is the Centauro RGO. This is a very interesting vehicle because it's coming for the country of Oman, which for, War Thunder's sake is pretty cool. We get to see a new country within the game, and it overall is just a really cool thing. The thing about the Centauro RGO is that it's a vehicle that I don't really prefer. I don't really like the, more, top tier Centauros. Like, I've never played this one, but from just playing these vehicles in general now, they seem very poor, especially with just how much the game has changed over years. Like, the Centauro used to be a really good and fun vehicle, but for me at least now, there's just so much, like, IFVs and just things that have autocannons at around these battle ratings of, you know, top tier with, you know, spike missiles and stuff, it's not really the spikes that hurt you. It's just the auto cannons, which are able to just pin everything on this tank because it has no armor. And the only thing that it really has is the gun. And for a lot of vehicles that you see within the tech tree, you can bring in a tracked vehicle, which, you know, from the front should be pretty much immune from, you know, IFEs and things. But for me, at least, like with 2F30H just going around, Bradleys and all that sort of stuff with, you know, APFSDs, BMP2Ms, it's a very hard pick for me. I understand that this vehicle can do extremely well if it's positioned very well, but it's one of those vehicles that you kind of need to have the right map for as well. And whenever it comes to that, as we know in War Thunder, sometimes you get abandoned factory like 5 times in a row, and the Centauro is not going to be a great asset to that map. So definitely is a very decent vehicle. Like, I don't think it's like bad or anything. Like, the gun definitely carries it with the CL round, but for majority of the time, I would rather have something like tank-wise, not a wheeled vehicle. And for me, at least, whenever it comes to the Italian tech tree, the most fun that I've had so far is in the OF MTCA. The OF MTCA is just a really good vehicle, and it would be able to grind a majority of the tech tree. The only part of the tech tree you wouldn't be able to grind is the Ariete AMV. And as we already know, the Arietes are not the best in the world. So is it worth actually getting the Centauro? I would probably say no. I would just wait until you get the tech tree one and just talisman it, or, you know, basically get this thing on a cell. So it would probably be the one that I don't recommend. Once again, it does a really weird thing with the gun as well. Whenever you're moving, it doesn't really stabilize it that well. So yeah, definitely is one I would personally skip and just get something within the tech tree, or just get the OF40, you know, MTCA, and, you know, grind up the tech tree as much as you can. So next we have the Christian 2 for Sweden, and it's one of the vehicles that I would personally say is one of the, like, I would say lesser, you know, vehicles within this update, just because it's a copy paste. And what I mean by that is that you have already right now 2 Leopard 2A4s within the tech tree, being STRV121 and as well as the Leopard 2A4. So for Finland you have one, and now you have a premium. So technically you can have 3 Leopard 2A4s within the tech tree of Sweden. And is it a good thing? Probably. I mean, it makes the lineup even better. But is it a vehicle that I would say that you would need? Not really. I would honestly say the better option is the CV90-105, just because it's more unique and it's, you know, a little bit different compared to the actual, you know, Christian 2. So I'm not really sure what the Christian 2 is supposed to be. Now, the really big difference between the tech tree one and as well as this one is the smoke launchers, and I don't believe it's letting us see them. But yeah, the smoke launchers right there is a little bit different. We can actually, you know, view this one. You can see it has a lot more whenever it comes to actually smoking out stuff. So yeah, you do get a cool little camo net on the front of the tank, but the question is, and kind of remains the same, is it worth it? And to me, at least, I would say no, especially if you already have like the CV90-105. So, and then finally we have the Raam Segol, which is a Merkava Mark III with a cool little APS system on it that currently does not work with the War Thunder. And I'm not really sure if it will ever work in War Thunder, because it is the, you know, it's not modeled or anything, but it's called the Purple Thunder. And basically what it would do is, if it was modeled in game, is if you got laser range found by something, or you had an ATGM coming at you, it would turn the turret to where, you know, the enemy was at, and then it would just start popping off smokes, as we can see here. But as in War Thunder right now, it is basically just a copy paste, you know, Merkava 3 or Mark III, right? So it's going to have the 120. It's going to have, I believe, yeah, the M322 round. And then you also have some, you know, HETF, which honestly is not the best in the world, but, you know, kind of is what it is. The thing about the Merkavas is I don't really think they're the best vehicles in the world, but they're doable. Like, well, I shouldn't say doable, but they're usable. Like, you're able to kind of just go around the map, you know, go to, you know, hold down positions and kind of just, you know, do what you can. Whenever it comes to these vehicles, they're very survivable whenever it comes to shooting them sometimes, but sometimes they're not. Gaijin did remove the ammo that was kind of stored there, which is a good thing. So definitely is a vehicle I would say is all right, but I don't know. Like, the thing about it is that I'm kind of hesitant to actually recommend this one, just for the fact of the Merkava Mark II D, which is right here, is a vehicle that's just like very poorly, you know, in a BR bracket right now. I'm not really sure how these are performing, because I currently have not, you know, ground my way up to there. But for me, at least, the way that I see it is that you don't really have many options whenever it comes to buying a premium for Israel. You have the Shot Cow, you have the Mark II D, or now you have the Raam Segol. So those are your 3 options. The shot cal's alright, but it's not the best. You know, the Mark IID is in a terrible position BR wise. You know, it's 9.7. There's no 9.7s within the tech tree, so you either have to up tier it or you have to up tier your 9.3. So honestly, it's just in a very bad state. But with the Raam Segol, you have your Merkava Mark IIIs, which are in the tech tree. So honestly, it could be pretty good, but once again, I'm very hesitant to recommend a Merkava just because how they've performed in the past for me. And the only ones that really seem to be any good are the early ones like the Mark 1B and as well as the Mark 2B because I played them in the American tech tree, funny enough. But yeah, these are the premiums that are coming in the next major update for War Thunder. What do you guys think? Are you going to pick up any of them? Honestly, for majority of these premiums, I would just recommend a sell for them if you want to get them. They're very much copy paste, and if you're just looking to play War Thunder for just top tier stuff, you will be very disappointed at the end of the day whenever you buy one of these premiums and just realize that top tier really isn't what it is out to be. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.